You are a ghost, Maya, and tonight you are going to haunt the man who killed my father." Dante Moretti didn't look at her when he spoke. He stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of his Manhattan penthouse, his silhouette a jagged, handsome mountain against the shimmering, predatory lights of the New York City skyline. Maya felt a shiver race down her spine that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. She looked down at her hands, still stained with the phantom sensation of cheap dishwater and grease from the diner where her life had ended only 6 hours ago. Now she was draped in emerald silk that cost more than she would have earned in 3 lifetimes. "I'm not a ghost," Maya whispered, her voice trembling like a leaf in a storm. "I'm a waitress. I have a shift at 6 a.m. I have rent to pay. I have—" "You have nothing," Dante interrupted, turning slowly. Even in the dim light, his beauty was terrifying. He was the Ice King of the underworld. Sharp jawline, dark hair slicked back with lethal precision, and eyes that were not human. They were the eyes of an ancient predator, silver gray and devoid of mercy. The moment you stepped into that alleyway to take out the trash, the moment you saw Victor Volkov put a bullet through my father's head, your old life evaporated. You are a witness. In my world, witnesses are either buried or they are owned. Tonight, I am choosing to own you." The air in the room felt heavy, suffocating. Maya remembered the alleyway, the smell of rain on hot asphalt, the sudden deafening crack of gunfire, and the way the old man had fallen like a discarded doll. She'd frozen, a tray of leftovers clutched to her chest, making eye contact with the man holding the smoking gun. She should have been dead. But Dante Moretti's men had arrived seconds later, and instead of a funeral, now she had been given a makeover that felt like a death sentence. "Why a fiance?" she asked, clutching the silk of her gown. "If you want me as a witness, put me in a safe house. Why bring me to a gala full of vipers?" Dante walked toward her, each footfall silent yet heavy with authority. He stopped just inches away, his scent, sandalwood, expensive tobacco, and the metallic tang of gunpowder, filling her senses. He reached out, his large, calloused hand gripping her chin, forcing her to look up into the storm of his gaze. "Because Victor Volkov thinks I am weak," Dante growled, his voice a low vibration she felt in her very bones. "Tonight is the great winter gala. Every family, every traitor, and every ally will be there. If I walk in with a woman I have kept hidden, a woman I am supposedly so obsessed with that I have kept her secret for months, they smell power. You are my shield, Maya. And for one night, you will play the part of the woman I love more than life itself." "One night," Maya repeated, trying to find a spark of courage in the wreckage of her reality. "And then what? I go back to my life?" Dante's expression didn't soften. "If you survive the night, I will give you a new identity. But if you fail, if you blink at the wrong time, or if your voice shakes when you call me darling, Victor will know. And he doesn't take prisoners." The transition from the cold penthouse to the glittering ballroom of the Pierre Hotel was a blur of terror and luxury. As the heavy oak doors swung open, a wall of music and the scent of 1,000 lilies hit Maya. This was the elite society she'd only seen in movies. Men in tailored charcoal suits, women dripping in diamonds. It was a sea of wolves disguised in silk. Maya clung to Dante's arm, her fingers digging into the expensive fabric of his tuxedo. There, she felt the immediate shift in the room's atmosphere. The Ice King, the man who had never been seen with a woman, was walking in with a breathtaking stranger. "Smile, Maya," Dante whispered, his lips brushing against her temple. To anyone watching, it looked like a tender, intimate gesture. To Maya, it felt like a command from a general. "You are the happiest woman in the room. Act like it." She forced her lips to curve upward, though her eyes remained wide. As they moved through the crowd, Maya began to see the escalating clues of danger. The first was the silence of the Volkov lieutenants, their eyes scanning her face, looking for a crack in the armor. Then came the professional betrayal. Elena, a high-ranking socialite who had expected to be Dante's bride, approached them. Her eyes were fixed on Maya's hands that were red and raw from years of manual labor at the diner, a detail the expensive manicure couldn't entirely hide. "Where did he find you, dear?" Elena asked, and her voice like honey poured over glass. "You have the look of someone who has seen a lot of service." Maya felt the blood drain from her face. Elena knew, or she suspected. Before Maya could respond, Dante pulled her closer, his thumb tracing the line of her hip in a way that made Maya's heart leap into her throat. "Maya is the only treasure I found worth keeping," he said coldly. But the worst was yet to come. Up on the balcony, Maya saw Marco, Dante's head of security. He wasn't watching the perimeter. He was whispering into the ear of the man from the alleyway. "Victor Volkov." "Dante," Maya hissed, her voice barely audible over the violins. "Marco, he's with Victor." Dante didn't flinch. He just spun her around in the waltz. "I know," he said calmly. "I need Victor to believe I love you. Because once he believes that, he will stop looking for the real witness. He will focus all his hate on you." "You're using me," Maya whispered, horrified. "But you aren't protecting me. You're making me the target." The music stopped. At the top of the grand staircase, Victor Volkov began to descend. He walked straight toward them, a mocking smile on his lips. He pulled out a crumpled piece of paper, a receipt from the diner dated yesterday with Maya's name on it. "Tell me, Dante," Victor said, his voice a deadly whisper. "Is she your fiance? Or is she the little rat who saw me in the alleyway?" Before Dante could respond, a small, muffled cry came from the entrance. It was Leo, the 6-year-old orphan Maya had befriended at the diner. The boy had followed her, driven by a desperate need to find the only person who had ever been kind to him. Victor's eyes snapped to the child. He signaled to Marco, who began to move toward the boy with a hand on his weapon. Maya didn't think. She broke away from the Ice King, her emerald dress flowing behind her like a battle flag. She sprinted across the marble floor, reaching Leo just as Marco's hand closed on the boy's shoulder. "Get your hands off him!" Maya screamed. The room exploded into chaos. Dante roared a command, and his loyalist guards drew their weapons. Bullets began to fly, shattering crystal chandeliers. Dante was a whirlwind of violence, moving through the smoke and fire to reach Maya. He grabbed her and Leo, throwing them behind a heavy oak bar as wood splintered under a hail of Volkov bullets. He looked at Maya, his face splattered with blood, his eyes burning with a mixture of rage and something she couldn't identify. He had expected her to be a coward, Instead, she'd stood up to the most dangerous men in the city for a child that wasn't even hers. "Stay down," Dante commanded, his voice lower now, almost a promise. "I'm getting you out of here, both of you." As they scrambled into his armored SUV, Maya looked back. She saw the wreckage of the gala and the promise of a bloodbath in Victor's eyes. Inside the vehicle, the silence was deafening. Maya looked at Dante, expecting the deal to be over. "The night is done," Maya whispered. "Let us disappear." Dante looked at her, his shadow falling over her, his presence more possessive than ever. "I can't," he said, a haunting reality in his voice. "Victor saw you save that boy. He saw the way I looked at you. The world doesn't think you're a witness anymore, Maya. They think you are my soul. They think you are the only thing on this earth that can make Dante Moretti bleed." The SUV tore through the gates of the Moretti fortress. As the iron bars shut behind them with a heavy, final thud, Maya realized the real trap had just begun. "The deal is dead," Dante whispered. "You aren't pretending to be my fiance for one night anymore. For your own survival, you belong to the Moretti house. You will live in my estate, and you will breathe only when I allow it." Maya looked at the barbed wire atop the stone walls. She had survived the gala, but she was now a queen in a cage of gold and blood. If the Mafia boss refused to let her leave, the heavy iron gates of the Moretti estate didn't just close, they sealed like the doors of a tomb. As the SUV hissed to a halt in the grand courtyard, Maya felt the suffocating weight of the silence that followed the chaos of the gala. The estate was a sprawling fortress of gray stone and cold glass, hidden behind miles of high walls. It was a place where secrets were buried and where the law ended at the gatehouse. Dante stepped out of the car, his posture stiff, his eyes scanning the rooftops where snipers stood guard. He didn't offer Maya a hand. He simply waited for her to climb out, clutching a shivering Leo to her chest. "This is your world now," Dante said, his voice stripped of the performative tenderness he had used at the gala. "There are no shifts, no menus, and no walking away. My house staff will provide everything you need, but you do not cross the perimeter. And you never, under any circumstances, go into the East Wing." Maya looked at the towering structure. "You're making me a prisoner," she whispered. "You promised me a new life." "I'm keeping you alive," Dante snapped, turning to face her. The blood on his face had dried into dark, jagged streaks. "Out there, you are just another body in a ditch. Here, you are a Moretti." As the days passed, the domestic noir atmosphere of the house began to grate on Maya's nerves. The floors were polished marble that echoed with every footstep, and the walls were adorned with the portraits of grim men. Suspicion began to rise in her chest as she noticed the small things. The way the maids lowered their eyes when she passed, the heavy locks on the outside of her doors, and the distinct lack of mirrors in the hallways. Around noon on the third day, a young maid brought in a tray of food. Her hands shook as she set it down. Maya seized the opportunity, stepping closer. "Please," Maya whispered. "Is there a phone? I need to know if Marco is still here." The girl's eyes widened in terror. "He's in the holding cells. The boss is questioning him. But be careful, miss. Some people here think you are the reason the old boss is dead." The girl scurried out, but the seed of doubt had been planted. Later that night, Maya found a way to bypass her door lock using a silver hairpin. She moved like a shadow through the darkened corridors, drawn toward the library. Inside, she heard voices. She ducked behind a heavy mahogany desk. "He's losing his mind, Elena," a man's voice whispered. It was one of Dante's lieutenants. "He's keeping a waitress in the suite while the Volkovs seize our docks." Dante is blinded by grief, Elena's voice replied, sharp as a razor. "He thinks he can use her to lure Victor out. Yeah, but he's only inviting our destruction. Tonight, we ensure the witness doesn't make it to a trial. Arrange a breach in security. Make it look like a Volkov hit." Maya felt the blood drain from her face. This was the professional betrayal in its purest form. Elena and the lieutenants were planning to murder her and Leo to force Dante's hand. Maya realized she couldn't make it to the gates. Her only hope was the one place Dante had forbidden, the East Wing. She led a sleepy Leo through the darkened house, reaching the heavy double doors of the restricted wing. They were unlocked. She pushed them open and stepped into a world of clinical white light and the hum of medical machinery. This wasn't a living quarter. It was a private infirmary. In the center of the room, surrounded by monitors and IV drips, lay an old man. He was pale, his breathing assisted by a ventilator. Maya realized with a jolt of shock that this was the old boss, Dante's father. He wasn't dead. The hit in the alleyway hadn't killed him, but it had left him in a coma. Dante had lied to the world. He had told everyone his father was dead, so he could hunt the killers. Without anyone realizing the head of the family was still vulnerable. "What are you doing here?" Dante's voice came from the shadows. He was standing by the window, in a glass of amber liquid in his hand. He looked exhausted, his shirt unbuttoned at the collar. Maya didn't lower the gun she had snatched from a fallen guard earlier. "Your people are trying to kill me, Dante. Elena and your lieutenants. They're in the hallway right now. They want to start a war, and they want my body to be the reason for it." Dante's expression didn't change, but his eyes flickered toward the monitors. "I know about Elena," he said quietly, "but I didn't think she would move this soon." "You knew?" Maya screamed. "You used me as bait again?" "I needed to see who would follow her," Dante said, stepping into the light. He looked at the gun in her hand. "And I needed to see if you were the woman I thought you were. A witness who runs is useless. A woman who fights, that is someone I can use." Maya felt a wave of pure loathing. "You are a monster. You're just like Victor. I have kept him alive for 6 months while the world thinks he's a ghost," Dante roared, gesturing toward his father. "I have sacrificed my soul to keep this family together. And tonight, you showed me that you have more courage than any of the snakes I call my allies." He walked toward her, ignoring the gun. He stopped when the barrel was pressed against his chest. "Go ahead, Maya. Pull the trigger. But if you do, that boy will never leave this estate alive." Maya's finger tightened. She looked at Leo. She saw the way the boy looked at Dante, with a strange, desperate hope. She lowered the gun. "I won't kill you," she whispered, "but I won't be your pawn. If I'm staying, we do this my way. You find the people who tried to kill us, and you make them pay. Not for your empire, for us." Dante took the gun from her fingers. He didn't turn it on her. "Elena is waiting for a signal," he said, his voice returning to its cold edge. We're going to give her exactly what she wants. We're going to show her the ghost she created. He led them to the grand dining hall, where the lieutenants were already celebrating. As the doors swung open, the room fell silent. Elena's champagne glass shattered on the floor. "The breach has been contained," Dante said, his presence suffocating the room, "and the traitors have been identified." As the guards dragged the conspirators away, Dante looked at Maya. For the first time, he didn't see a witness. He saw a partner. But the obsessive lover in him was growing. He watched her with an intensity that suggested he would never let her out of his sight again. "The real war begins tomorrow," Dante said softly. "Victor will come for you with everything he has." Maya walked back to her room, realizing she was safe from the lieutenants. But the Ice King had just locked her in a much tighter cage. The morning after the failed coup inside the estate broke with a sky the color of a bruised plum. Dante stood by the window of Maya's new quarters, a room in the heart of the fortress, chosen for maximum surveillance. He looked like he hadn't slept a minute. The aura of violence clung to him like a second skin. "The traitors have been dealt with," Dante said, his voice a gravelly rasp. He threw a weathered, leather-bound ledger on the table. "That is the undeniable proof Victor is looking for. Yeah, it's my father's record of every illegal transaction in the city. But the key to the code isn't a password. It's a locket that was stolen from my father the night he was shot." Maya looked at the book, then at Dante. "The fiance, it wasn't just a mask. You needed a spouse to legally claim the legacy under your father's rules." "Exactly," Dante admitted. "But there's more. Victor thinks you're an operative who has the locket's backup key. In his mind, now you are the final piece of a billion-dollar puzzle. You've been branded, Maya. There's no going back." The third clue of the day arrived in a silver box. Inside was a tablet playing a live feed of the diner where Maya used to work. The building was engulfed in flames, the neon sign melting. Standing in front of the inferno was Victor Volkov. "I have her past, Dante." Victor's voice distorted through the speakers. "If you want to keep your fiancé alive, bring the ledger to the old cathedral. If I see a single soldier, I'll send you the boy's head in a box." Maya collapsed, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Her old life was literally ashes. At 10 p.m., the estate went into a blackout. Victor had bypassed the perimeter. Mia grabbed the ledger and Leo, finding Dante in the armory. He was strapping on a tactical vest, his eyes widening as he saw her. "The power didn't go out because of a storm," Maya said, her voice cold. "He's here." They made it to the garage, but smoke grenades thudded onto the concrete, filling the space with a choking fog. Gunfire erupted. Dante pushed Maya and Leo behind a concrete pillar, his own weapon spitting fire as he engaged the intruders. "Go!" Dante yelled, taking a bullet to the shoulder but barely flinching. "The tunnel leads to the forest. Protect the ledger. Protect the boy." Maya hesitated, looking at the man who had claimed to own her. In that moment, the emotional tension snapped. She saw a man sacrificing himself for a lie that had become his only truth. She leaned forward and kissed him, a desperate taste of blood and rain, then grabbed Leo's hand and ran. Maya ran until the tunnel opened into a dense forest. She reached the safe house, a small cabin hidden in a ravine. Inside, she examined the ledger and found a handwritten note on the last page. To my son, Dante, the Empire is a curse. Seek the girl in the alley. She is the only one who can lead you to the light. Maya's heart stopped. Dante's father had known her, and he had seen her kindness at the diner for years, and chosen her as the ultimate test for his son, to see if Dante would protect an innocent or use her as a tool. A heavy knock sounded. Dante slumped inside, his suit soaked in blood. He had held off an entire hit squad alone. The boy? Dante wheezed. He's safe, Maya said, staunching his wounds. But Victor is coming. He has the locket. Dante, we have to give him what he wants. No, Dante groaned. The Empire is a cage, Maya shouted. We give him the book, and when he reaches for it, we end this. Dante handed her a small, high-explosive charge. The ledger has a hollow spine, he whispered. If you prime this inside, whoever opens it will never see the numbers. The cabin door was kicked off its hinges. Victor Volkov stepped in, surrounded by armed men. He looked at the dying Dante, then at Maya. The girl from the diner, Victor mocked. The game is over. Give me the book. Maya stood in front of Leo, her shadow long in the flickering light. She held out the ledger. Take it, Victor. It's what you killed for. Just take it and go. Victor snatched the book, his fingers trembling with greed. He sat at the table, reaching into his pocket for the locket to begin the encryption. Finally, he breathed. Goodbye, Victor, Maya said, grabbing Leo and diving behind the heavy stone fireplace as Dante rolled off the sofa to join them. The explosion was contained but devastating. The shock wave shattered the windows and sent the table into 1,000 splinters. When the smoke cleared, Victor Volkov was gone, turned into ash along with the roadmap to the underworld. Maya stood up, soot-covered and gasping. The obsessive lover reached out, his hand finding hers in the ruins. He was alive. The serious threat was dead. The betrayal was answered. We have to go, Maya said, her voice a calm command, before the police arrive. We have a new life to start. Dante allowed her to pull him up. For the first time, the Mafia boss followed the waitress. They walked into the woods as the dawn finally broke. The one night had turned into a lifetime, and the man who refused to let her leave had finally found a reason to stay. The smoke from the cabin fire rose in a thin, gray ribbon against the pale morning sky, a funeral pyre for the old world. Dante lay in the back of a mud-caked sedan, his head resting in Maya's lap. They were moving toward a sanctuary near the coast, a place Dante had kept off every map. Stay with me, Dante, Maya whispered. You don't get to leave me in this wreckage. Dante's eyes flickered open, the silver depths clouded with pain. The ledger, it's gone, Maya. The Empire is cinders. Good, she replied. It was a cursed thing. They reached a weather-beaten cottage perched on a cliff. For weeks, Maya nursed Dante back to health. The Ice King was gone, replaced by a man who found more satisfaction in the salt air than in the power of a throne. But the hidden identity of their new lives was tested one last time. Sergei Volkov, Victor's brother, tracked them down. He didn't want the ledger. He wanted blood. The final assault happened at dusk. Maya, no longer the fragile waitress, took up arms. She defended the cottage with a lethal precision she had learned from Dante. In a final heart-stopping confrontation on the cliff's edge, Maya faced Sergei. She didn't hesitate. 2 rounds to the chest sent the last of the Volkovs into the dark abyss of the Atlantic. The golden sun of Tuscany now cast a long, amber glow over a quiet vineyard. It has been 10 years since the world believed Dante Moretti died in a fire. Maya sits on the veranda, sketching a 16-year-old Leo, who is now a brilliant student of architecture. Dante, now known as David, stands beside her, his hand warm on her shoulder. The calluses of a gardener have replaced the tension of a gunman. "He has your heart, Maya," Dante murmurs, watching Leo. He only looks forward. The final emotional closure arrived today in a letter from Elena, now a forgotten ghost in a Swiss convent. Dante tossed the letter into the hearth without reading it. The villains were ghosts. The secrets were ashes. Dante pulled Maya close, his chin resting on her head. "I didn't refuse to let you leave because I wanted to own you, Maya. I refused because I knew that without you, I was lost in the dark." The Mafia boss had finally found a reason to stay, because they weren't a boss and a witness anymore. They were a family, forged in fire, and finally living in the light. Friends, the epic journey of Maya and Dante ends here, in the quiet hills of Italy, far from the shadows of the Moretti Empire. This story taught us that no matter how much someone tries to own you, your heart remains your own choice. Maya went from a waitress in a diner to the woman who burned down a criminal legacy to save a child. Did you expect the twist about Dante's father? Or Maya's transformation into a protector? Let us know in the comments which moment of this 10,000-word saga was your favorite. If you loved the cinematic drama of betrayal and redemption, please like the video and subscribe to join our storytelling family. Your support is the engine that drives these stories. Until next time, remember, you are never just a witness to your own life. You are the one who writes the ending. Stay blessed.